Hey everybody, it's Tiffany, and I am so excited to share a new project with you all today. This is a Traveler's Notebook project that I started as part of a class that Tracy Claiborne and I taught together at our recent Savannah Scrap Gals retreat. Generally, we teach a class together for each retreat, and we make it a sketch class. So she makes projects based on the sketches, and so do I, and then we share our various interpretations with the people who are attending our retreat. Well, this time we did that same process, but they were in Traveler's Notebook spreads. And so we provided our attendees with a Traveler's Notebook and with the new crepe paper Maggie Holmes Sunny Days collection, and challenge them to use the different interpretations that we created to begin their own Traveler's Notebook. While we only had to do 3 or 4 of the sketch spreads, I can't remember which, I got so excited with my project that I decided to go ahead and make the entire thing. I just didn't want to stop. And that's what I'm going to share with you here today. The holder is something that I picked up on clearance from Michael's for like $3 or so. It was not expensive at all. I think it was from the Illustrated Faith line. It came with an insert already, but it wasn't my aesthetic and it didn't fit with the project that I had in mind, so I just used a different insert for it. I love this pink color. It's almost shell-like. And then I also love that it's this vinyl or this pleather. I think that's a really cool look. I think that having the elastic band will be good because this might get a little chunky. I went out of focus there. Let me see if I can straighten that up a little bit for you guys. Okay. So I'm going to put some things here on the inside cover. I don't know what they'll be just yet, but I think I want to do a picture here, and then I may just put some embellishments or some cards or something in these slots. I'd like to put something in here too, so maybe some ephemera or a map or even just some pattern paper or some journaling would be nice. There are some people that I follow on Instagram who paint the outside of planners and albums, and you know, if I can work up the courage, I'd like to do something like that too, but that'll be a decision that I wait and make at the very end. This particular one has room for 4 Traveler's Notebooks. So I already have one installed, and then I have 3 more elastics that I can use, which is perfect because if I document this trip that I chose in its entirety, then it will probably take me 4 different Traveler's Notebooks to do that. I'm not sure what I'll do yet with this pen holder. I don't want to put a pen there because I wouldn't want people to think that they could write in it, but I'm not sure if I'll like remove it and pick the stitches out, or if maybe I'll put charms on it. I don't know. There are lots of different possibilities. I'll just have to kind of think that through. So, unbeknownst to me, Tracy and I both decided that we were going to document a recent trip using this Sunny Days collection from Maggie Holmes and using the sketches for our joint class and our retreat. I focused on my trip to the Pacific Northwest last summer. And this first Traveler's Notebook specifically centers on the first 3 days of my trip when I'm visiting the Oregon coast. Now, if I continue per my plan with the other Traveler's Notebooks in this series, then I would also have one for the time I spent in the city of Portland. I'd have one for the time I spent with my friend Kathy in Tacoma and, is it Redmond? I think that's right. And Seattle. And then I would have a Traveler's Notebook about our Seattle retreat. So this could end up being a really chunky kind of series, but that's okay because I think that I have ample room in here for that and that the elastic will help. So let me show you the project that I already made. One of the things that I hear from people is that they get frustrated with unfinished projects. And originally, I just planned to make the 3 or 4 sketch pages and then finish this at some other point. But I got so excited. My mojo was flowing. And so I decided that I wanted to keep going and actually finish the project. So I was trying to add up how long did I spend working on this, right? Well, the first thing I did was print all my photos. And I did go ahead and print all the photos for the entire project for this particular traveler's notebook. Then I made the pages with the photos and the pattern paper and stuff for the sketches and had so much fun I decided to keep going. So I finished all the bases. After that, I added in the journaling and then finished off by adding embellishments. In all, I think I probably spent about 4 hours on the project. I'm not a fast scrapbooker, so I feel really good about finishing an entire traveler's notebook in like 4 hours. So if you haven't given it a try, or if you're a little intimidated by traveler's notebooks, hopefully this information will make you feel like they're more doable maybe than you realize. I used an insert that I already had in my stash. We hadn't had the ones for our attendees cut yet, and so I didn't want to go out and buy something new, and I used one of these. I liked the aqua stripe because I thought that kind of went with that coastal vibe that I was planning. The only thing I don't like about this is the rounded corners. I prefer a straight edge, straight corner. But it wasn't enough to prevent me from using this in my project. And honestly, I don't have a problem with mixing the straight cornered edge with the rounded edge for the other inserts. I'm not going to let that be something that stands in my way. I added some washi tape to the front and back cover just for some visual interest. That was not part of the Sunny Days line. It was just some stuff I had in my stash. But all the other things that you're going to see in this particular album come from Maggie Holmes Sunny Days. Here's my title page. I had a great time doing this. I decided I wanted to do my title vertically, and I used kind of a grungy stamp set, which I really liked. I think that the depth of color and the grunge factor of it is just perfect for what I had imagined. I like that the vertical title fits nicely with the vertical strips of pattern paper. And then this tag just seemed like a perfect option to add there. Over here, you'll notice I have some camera stickers and then some little phrase stickers. And that's because I got a little messy and some of my ink actually ended up in this portion. You know how they say that necessity is the mother of invention? Well, in my case, jacking something up is the mother of extra embellishments. So there you go. Y'all can write that down if you want to. This is my intro spread, and it starts at the beginning of the trip. Now, the book mostly goes in chronological order, even though that really wasn't planned. It was a little bit accidental. But there are just a couple of times where I know that things are not in the exact order that they happened, but it's not enough to bug me or to make me want to redo something. I like this spread a lot because it illustrates that even in a traveler's notebook, it's possible to have a lot of journaling. So I have my pattern paper with a couple of 3x4 pictures over here on the right. Just one sticker embellishment there. And then I have my journaling on the left. Here's one of the spreads that I did for the sketch. This one uses 7 2x2 photos. And then for the 8th square, instead of using a photo, I put pattern paper there with a sticker on top. This spread focuses on the Airbnb that I rented for the time that I was on the coast. And then I put my journaling on a tag here with just a few decorative stickers. Notice that I did round the corners of my pattern paper, but I did not round the corners of my photos. And that was purposeful. I thought that the rounded corners for the paper looked a little nicer, but I didn't want to go as far as to do my corners on my embellishments or my photos that way. And so I guess I made the decision to be consistently inconsistent, if you will. This is another variation of that same sketch. And here I have 6 photos, but then I put a tag at the bottom and I stamped the name of the little town where I stayed, Astoria. And I put the journaling on the opposite side in the light colored sections of the patterned paper. I added a black and clear sticker here and at the top. And if you'll notice, the stamping and the stickers create a visual triangle. I also have the repetition of the color blue from the left to the right in kind of a triangle pattern as well. And so that helps the page really flow. This next layout is one of my favorites in this book because it was one of the favorite things that I saw. This is a really clean kind of spread, and I wanted it that way because the pictures were so great. This is Cannon Beach and the famous haystack rock that was shown in the movie The Goonies, and a little bit of the tide pool there, and then you can see me on the beach, at least my toes. I used some really fun pattern paper over here with just a couple of embellishments, and then I have my journaling on a tag. Here at the bottom I included another tag, and then I used a sticker of a straw hat and a bathing suit. Now, it was really too cold to wear a bathing suit that day, even though it was July. But I love that I was able to just share this story and show these pictures in a really simple, clear way. Especially since the Pacific Northwest beaches are like no other beaches I've ever visited anywhere in the world. So that was kind of special to me. This is also a great page to mention that I like to leave a border or a gutter around the edge of my spreads in my traveler's notebook. I do that along the outside edge, and then I also do it here in the middle where the seam is, because it makes it easier to turn the pages, and you have less likelihood of your book falling apart because it's gotten heavy. I would recommend that if that's something that you've encountered or something that you're worried about in your traveler's notebooks. This was a fun spread that I made, and I actually used this same design roughly 3 different times in the booklet. So here is a selfie. So I've got one 3x4 photo. I have layers of pattern paper behind it. Then I have stamped my title and included some embellishments. Over here on this side, I have some kind of busy patterned papers, but I made it into a pocket so that I could put my journaling on something that was a little bit calmer. And notice how this pattern paper has the blue at the bottom, and the background of this is blue. So that is kind of a subtle reminder that that's how it goes in the pocket. I thought that made sense. This was one of the sketch designs too, and I liked it because it enabled me to take pictures that, like, they didn't really deserve their own layout, and they don't necessarily seem super cohesive at first glance. But what this does is it takes all those disparate photos and it kind of puts them together in a way that makes sense, almost like a puzzle would. And so I have, 3 or so different kinds of pattern papers represented. I have 3 different photos. I've included a tag, and then I have some journaling that I wrote directly on the background of the page. And that's one of the things that I personally love about Traveler's Notebooks. It feels free and casual enough that I can write directly on the background without getting too stressed out. If I mess up, I can just put some cardstock on top of it if I need to, or I could just glue some pages together and start over. Either one would work. Here's another one of the sketch pages. Notice that it is 3 vertical photos and then journaling. I added some stickers that are that black and clear here at the bottom, and then also in this title strip at the top, just because I liked that. This was a really fun day. I went to, it's basically a wrecked ship that when it's low tide, you can walk right up to it, which seems so crazy. It's the Peter Iredale, and it wrecked in 1906 en route to the Columbia River. And so I was able to share this little bit of fun with a little bit of history in a pretty minimal amount of space. I thought that was nice. And I'm glad that I had that to remember. Here's another one of those puzzle pages, if you will. This one has more embellishment because I embellished, let's see, 1, 2, 3 of the patterned pieces. And you'll notice that I also used a tag in place of one of the patterned papers. I also shifted the journaling to a different spot because I had a little bit more to say, and I still wrote it directly on the background. This was a super simple page to put together. These are all landscape shots. And this is the one that's a little bit out of order. It should be closer to the beginning of the book, but you wouldn't have known that if I hadn't told you. I took this tag and I popped it up with some foam tape to give it a little bit of dimension. And then I wrote directly on the background of the page. I added a few little embellishments here and there. I did one cluster basically per picture, and that was kind of designed to bring your eye down the page. And then I offset them a little bit to create a little bit of a sense of movement. You recognize this sketch? I have another page that's very similar. And again, I have the 3 vertical photos, but instead of putting the journaling here, I used patterned paper, and then I wrote my journaling here at the bottom. Now, I felt like I needed a little something extra to balance out this spread because this side is really heavy with the pattern and the writing. And so I cut apart one of the patterned papers for a title that I popped up a little bit on foam tape. And then I included a sticker there to kind of give this side more visual weight than it had initially. Here's that same sketch with the single photo. I have one 3x4 photo. I have layers of pattern paper behind it. I have a strip of a pattern paper that is repeated over here on the right hand side. And then I have cut apart a tag and journaled on that. You know, this enabled me to tell a little bit about this particular monument, the Astoria Column, which quite frankly, I would have forgotten about if I didn't have the excuse to jot it down in this traveler's notebook. So I like that this event scrapbooking, so I'm basically just scrapbooking the trip. It enabled me to capture some of the history of the place and a few of my feelings about it. But it's not necessarily super heavy on the journaling. To me, it feels just enough. This is one of my favorite spreads in the book. And again, it's a variation on what I just showed you. It's one 3x4 photo with a cluster of layers behind it. But this time I used pattern paper, I used clear stickers, I used a tag. I used a cardstock sticker. I mean, I used lots of different things. And I used one background paper that I brought over so that you basically have 1/3 of the spread is journaling and 2/3 of the spread is artistic. And then I just filled in and talked about this experience. This was a fun picture to take because I set my little portable tripod up on my rental car, and I took this selfie in front of this mural as like people were driving down the street. So it was kind of a brave moment too, but it was a fun one to remember. Sometimes you just have photos that you like and that you want to include in your albums, but you might not have much to say about them, or you might not know where they belong, like they don't fit on their own layout, or they don't seem like they really go with anything else that you've shared. That's exactly what this page is about. So you know what? It's totally okay to just put some pretty pictures in your album. I thought that these were 3 great photos that kind of spoke for themselves. Didn't really need to write anything about them, didn't really have anything to say. So I added this big circle sticker on the top left to just kind of give it some interest, some artsiness. And then I used this sticker over here to give it a title, and I did the same thing that I did on the page before. I took it over that little that little seam there so that it would kind of flow across the page. And then my closing layout, my closing spread is another variation of that single photo. 3x4 photo, lots of layers behind it. Here's a clear sticker, a few more clear stickers, and a tag. And, you know, I didn't really have anything to say about this statue of a sea captain, but I thought it was a great way to end that particular traveler's notebook, since that was the end of my trip to the ocean for that particular vacation. So there you have it. I am so glad I get to share that with you, and I hope that maybe it inspires you to play around with traveler's notebooks a little bit. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll give me a thumbs up and maybe recommend me to one of your friends. And if you have any questions or comments, you are welcome to leave them below. Thanks for watching.